Okay, so before we get to opening this surprise and saying who it's from, Audra has her first doctor's appointment checkup on Mama's body. That sounded kind of weird. Just on Mama. How about that? Some things should be edited out, but won't be.
Audra!
I have a stain on my leg.
We have to go to your doctor's appointment.
You know what?
You're taking forever.
I still have to give her a... No.
You know what? Audra became a mom and she became late.
To everything. I know.
You look cute though. I like your pony. She's so sleepy.
I said either hair or makeup. And I didn't wear any makeup yesterday.
Do I need to feed her before we go?
Yeah.
Do you know what it's like to have to get you and a baby ready? Probably some of you guys do. But it's new to me right now, and I mean, before a baby, wasn't even good at getting ready. So I'm running late again. I was late to her doctor's appointment. Now I'm late to mine. Whatever. I'm hungry too. See you when I get back. Hi. Let me take these off. I'm about to open this from Caitlin Minuti. It's so pretty in there. Okay, there's a card. And it says Boss Fam.
I know, but it's probably for you.
Well, yeah, but if it's addressed to, look, there's something for Annie. There's a bunch of stuff in here.
Oh my
Jack,
Lord.
Maddie. We should wait and open it all
probably
together.
all the girls.
And Adeline. Should I just open me and Adeline's?
Sure, open up theirs. The kids will be home just a little bit.
I'm not gonna open up theirs. Okay. This just warmed my heart. You sent us all gifts. It's Christmas. It's Christmas time in the city. And it's a shirt. Oh my gosh! Dad, look at this. Oh my gosh. What does hers say?
What is it?
Look.
What is it?
Oh my gosh, that's so cute.
This is Boss Mama. Underwear.
Who is this from?
This is from Caitlin.
Caitlin. That's
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. These are
Boss
so
baby.
very, very, very big shout out to Caitlin.
Oh.
Seriously?
Caitlin, you just made our day and the vlog.
What? Oh my gosh.
It says Adeline on it. Oh my gosh. I can't right now.
And her, what is that, monogram?
Monogram.
Oh my gosh.
I'm in love. And then there's another Boss Baby one. It's short sleeve. And they're 3 to 9. These two are.
Oh, different sizes.
And then this one is 0 to 3. And then this one's newborn. I'm so stunned right now.
That is so
I'm
sweet.
so excited. Thank you so much. This is so beautiful.
We'll have everyone.
We can
All the
match.
kids open theirs on camera. So
I'm gonna put Boss
can-
Mama on and she can wear Boss Baby.
I know, that is so cute.
Stay tuned for a really cute picture. All right, so you guys saw the birth vlog, but you guys didn't really get to hear behind the scenes, and I didn't really have time to talk about things because things went so, not wrong, but they went not the way that I had planned in my head. And not the way that I thought they were gonna go, I guess you could say. So I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a rundown so that you guys can feel like you guys were there, and so that if you guys have any questions about it or anything like that, I hope I can answer them right now. So I went to be induced on Monday. Things didn't really get started and going until about 12 o'clock Tuesday morning. I guess 12 a.m. would be Tuesday morning. So they didn't start like progressing really until then. I was having contractions, they were painful, but I wasn't really like there yet, you know? So at about 1:30 a.m., we were sitting there and my contractions started getting really, really rough. And I was so tired, and Will was like, you need to get your epidural so that you can get rest before you have to push and before things start progressing. Because I had asked the doctor, I was like, so when is he gonna do the Pitocin, and is he gonna do the other dose of, I forget what it was called. It was a pill that they gave me to induce me basically. And I was like, so when's that all gonna happen? And she started looking at my contractions, and she said, I don't think we're gonna give you Pitocin or the other dose. She said, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't come in here and want to break your water. And I was like, what? I was like, wait a minute, because I'm waiting for my epidural. I was waiting to get my epidural for when I got the Pitocin, so that when I started getting in pain or whatever, I would have that to like counteract it, I guess. And then they told me that I wasn't gonna get the Pitocin and that I wasn't gonna get the other dose, and I was like, that's not right. So I was like, so maybe I should get it. And Will was like, you really need to get it then, since what if this all happens really fast and this and that. And I was like, okay. So at about 2 o'clock, I got my epidural. They made my mom and my sister leave the room because only one person is allowed in there when you get your epidural. And so it was just me and Will and a nurse and the anesthesiologist. And it was not a big deal because I was already in pain, and I was like, just end it. However you can, end it. And so they did the epidural, and then they laid me back down. I went numb. Both legs, I could not move them. I could not. It felt like, when I touched them, it felt like they were like hard rocks. It was weird. It was a weird feeling. But I couldn't feel my contractions anymore at all, or feel her move around inside either, so that was kind of freaking me out too. But I knew that everything was normal and that it all was normal, or they would have said something. But after I got my epidural and they laid me down for about 10 minutes, her heart rate started dropping. And they were like, okay, we need to move her on her side. So they moved me on my side, and I laid there for a minute, and she was fine. It stabilized again, and then it dropped. And they were like, okay, let's turn her back around. So they turned me around on my other side, and then it was fine. And it stabilized, and then within like 10 minutes, it dropped again. And so they were saying that she was laying on her umbilical cord, and that's why her heart rate was doing that. So then she started giving more time in between the times where like her heart rate would drop, but they were watching it really close. They let my mom and my sister back in, and at around 3:30 they came in and they checked me. It was probably more like 3:45. They came in and they checked me, and he said, you're still only dilated to about a 3, a tight 3, so we're gonna keep on the roll, just keep watching you. We're gonna make sure that her heart rate stabilizes. He was getting worried about it. And I was like, okay. Well, at 4 o'clock, my water broke. And the nurses had literally just walked out of the room, and I was like, oh my gosh, Will, you need to get the nurse and get her back in here. My water just broke. And he was like, are you sure? And I was like, I'm sure that I'm soaking wet right now. Yes. So they came back in there and they were like, okay, well, hopefully this gets it moving faster. And so at that point, I was really just set in my mind, like, I'm gonna have her naturally. It never occurred to me that I was gonna have a C-section, ever. It never, like, of course, when he said, like, when I went in on Monday, they said, this sometimes with her having a weak placenta can counteract that, and her placenta could give out, which is honestly what I think happened, and that's why her heart rate was doing that. But I don't know medically. I don't know. So they started watching more carefully, and they came back in and they checked me, and I was at a 4. And so they waited and they kept making sure that her heart rate was okay, and it kept on doing it, but then it'd go back, and then it'd do it, and then it'd go back, and she was fine. So every once in a while I was getting like sleep in between, but Will was not sleeping at all. He was wide awake, scared to death, like he had a time, and I feel for him for that one, because he was like, you don't need to worry about anything, you need to sleep. And I was like, okay. And I couldn't see the monitor at all, like I could not see anything. And after I like numbed out and wasn't in any pain, I was so tired, like I couldn't stay awake. And so he at about 5:30 he came back in and he said, her heart rate's not stabilizing, so we're gonna give you something that's gonna make your heart, my heart, race. He said it's gonna feel like your heart's pounding out of your chest, but it's gonna slow down your contractions, so that, because every time I had a contraction, in between the contractions, her heart was dropping. And they were like a minute apart. So he said she's getting too tired, and if she can't keep her heart stabilized, she's not gonna be able to make her arrival the natural way. And so I was like, okay. So I started praying like in my head this whole entire time. I'm like, okay, now I can't sleep. And they gave me that stuff through my IV, and literally within like 30 seconds, I was like, my heart was beating out of my chest and I couldn't catch my breath. And then my contractions slowed down, but her heart still wasn't stabilizing. It was still doing that. And so at about 6 o'clock, 6:20, he came back in, he checked me, he said, you're still only at a 4 and her heart's not stabilizing, so we need to get you into an emergency C-section. And I just like, I went out of body and I lost it. I could not catch my sanity. I could not get myself back to like feeling okay. I was a wreck. I started crying right away. Will, he woke up and he was like, because he took a nap from like 5 to 5:20 or 6 to 6:20 when they told me that they were gonna do the C-section. He got up and he was just worried sick all over again. And within like 20 minutes, they had come back in and they were like, all right, are you ready? This and this and this. And they were just asking me a million questions. Meanwhile, this medicine that they gave me to make my heart race is still like actively working, and my heart is still racing, and I couldn't catch my sanity. So I'm like bawling my eyes out and scared, but excited, but nervous. Like I've never had surgery before. I've never like nothing. So they come in, they put a little net thing over my head, and they were like, all right, here we go. Start rolling me out. And I look back and I'm like, oh my God, my sister's like, I love you, Audra, like don't freak out, don't freak out. And I'm freaking out. And so they bring me into the OR and they put me on a table, and I was freezing cold and still could not catch like any type of relaxation or anything. But everybody, like the anesthesiologist was sitting by my head, and I kept saying, I can still feel my toes, I can still move my toes, they're still moving. And he was like, I know. He was like, I haven't put you the whole dose yet. He said, I'm waiting. He said, it's okay, everything's okay, I promise. I will let you know when to let me know when you can't feel them anymore. And I was like, okay. So I mean, I trusted all of them. I knew that they all knew what they were doing. I knew that my doctor knew what he was doing. He is an amazing doctor, and I'm so glad that he did it. But the doctor that was supposed to deliver her came in, and she was like, hey, you're doing so well, you need to breathe, Audra. She was like, you need to calm down, breathe in through your mouth, out through your nose, or whichever way. And so I kind of calmed down a little bit, and then the doctor came in that was there to deliver the baby. And I was like, oh my God, and I lost it again. And I'm strapped, they strapped my arms down to the table because I was freaking out. And so I couldn't catch sanity. And then he was like, so can you still feel your toes? And I was like, no, I can't feel anything. And I was like, my nose is itchy. That was the only thing that I could like think of. the doctor comes in and he's ready and he's like, all right, let's get this started. Will was not in there, so I'm like, no, you guys can't do this. My boyfriend's not in here, like blah, blah, blah. And the doctor was like, he was right behind me. Just give it a minute and he'll be in here. And I was like, okay. So he walked in right after that. And once he got there, it was like, okay, you're okay. He's here. Will's like, he's really good at calming me down because he's like, Audra, come on, snap back into reality. You are okay. You can do this. You're stronger than you think. Like, stop letting your mind freak you out like this. Because if none of you guys know, I used to have really bad anxiety when I was in high school, like my freshman, sophomore year. And I went homeschooling because of it. So this was like, my anxiety was on a million. Like, my heart was racing still from that medicine. And so once he came in there, like, he put his head right by my head and he was like, calm down. You need to breathe. You need to calm down. And I was like, okay. So I caught my sanity. And then the doctor literally within like 5 minutes was like, all right, I'm down to baby's head. Dad, you want to see? And he stands straight up and he's just looking. And he was like, the first thing he said, she is so beautiful. And I was like, she's out? I was like, what does she look like? I was like, is she okay? And then she started crying and I started crying when I heard that. And I was like, oh my God. I was so like relieved for that second. And then they gave her to him, to Will, and he came down there and he put her next to me and I was like just looking at her and I couldn't touch her because my arms were strapped down to this table. And I was like, just put her by my face. And he was like, here. And then the nurses were like, all right, well, we're gonna take her back, do vitals and everything under the sun. And Will was like, all right, I'm coming with. So then they left. And when they left, I lost it again. I was just thinking, I was like, I didn't get to touch her. I didn't get to touch her. And then I started feeling tired and I was scared that if I went to sleep that I wasn't gonna wake up or that I was gonna miss her. I don't know. I started freaking out because Will left. And so the anesthesiologist was like, you can go to sleep. It'll be fine. I will wake you up. And I was like, I can't sleep right now. Like, are you insane? I need to go see my baby. And they're stitching me up and everything. And they get me all stitched up. They bring me into the room and they brought her to me and it was peace all over again. But with that said, I had a very crazy experience and it was beautiful. And I'm so glad that she is here and she's healthy and that I made it through it and I was healthy. After I got stitched up and brought back to the room and then he came in pushing her in that little thing, I was like, oh my gosh. And they gave her to me and put her on my chest and I was just like, I was done. And you guys have seen that moment, obviously, but it was a lot and it was intense and scary and exciting and nerve-wracking, and I was so anxious for the moment and I'll never forget it. That's for sure. But I wanted to let you guys know what I went through, and since we didn't really show all of that, but now you guys know. But my doctor's appointment went amazing and he said everything looks great and that I should be done in about 2 weeks or 5 weeks. I have another recheck and so I'll let you guys know, but hopefully by then I'll be fine because I'm fine right now. I haven't taken my pain medication since 10 in the morning yesterday and I feel great.
Now, before the vlog ends, we get to open our presents from Caitlin. Oh, now will work.
Just pull this.
Tiny.
What is it?
What does it say? Boss, Uncle.
Oh, that's so cool. Show the camera. Oh my gosh.
Oh, what's
Show the camera. Boss Auntie.
And Uncle.
Can I wear it?
Absolutely.
Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share.